Welcome, Model FA's David DeCelle here, CEO of Model FA and your host of the Model FA podcast. And we are joined today by Jennifer de Groseilliers, who is the CEO of the Mather Group, which is arguably one of the fastest growing RIAs in the nation. Jennifer, I know we spoke a little while back on our intro call, but good to see you again here post holidays.
Likewise, great to be here and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So give us a sense, Jennifer, of your background. So you're obviously CEO of the Mather Group right now, but you didn't start there. How'd you get started in the industry? And tell us a little bit about your journey to get to where you are today.
Absolutely. I spent the majority of my career in the broker-dealer world, starting as a financial advisor on the East Coast, which is where I'm from originally. I came to the world of financial advising via practicing law. So I'd gone to law school and I practiced for several years. And a friend of a friend got me really excited about coming into this industry. So I started as an advisor, and I think that was a great place to really create a foundation of understanding the business, understanding clients, understanding how clients think about things. So I really feel very privileged that I was able to start at the ground and work my way up. So spent the majority of my time in the broker dealer world. Prior to coming to the Mather Group, I had my own firm under the Mass Mutual umbrella and really knew for quite some time that the RIA world, in my mind, was where this industry is going in the future of this industry. So was extremely excited when one of our board members, one of the Mather Group board members for our capital partner, who's a good friend of mine, approached me about the opportunity at the Mather Group. And I thought, what a cool opportunity to be able to come into this space and be part of a firm that is really founded on all the principles that I believe are the future of this business, which is leading with financial planning, in-house investment construction, in-house tax, where we can offer clients not only tax strategy, but we can also complete their taxes, as well as partnerships with estate planning attorneys, partnerships with property and casualty partners, life and annuity partners. So even though we don't take commissions on those products, it's the providing advice to our clients holistically around all of that is built into our client service model. And then I also really love our platform and how it's constructed because we do have a family office. So whether it's for folks that want to take advantage of that and are ready immediately, or we have people that are going to have upcoming liquidity events and can grow into that, it's really nice to have that feature as well. So I couldn't be happier with our platform, and it's been a lot of fun to actually lead this firm. The people are fantastic. We overall have a more young group than I think traditionally throughout the industry. The average age in the industry is, upper 50s, early 60s at this point. And at the Mather Group, we have an average age in the early 40s. So it's a very vibrant group. And also, I think the last thing that was really exciting to me is we are large, 15 billion under management and under advisement, which means that we're big enough to be able to invest and be at the forefront of technology and AI and where this business is going. But we're also not so big that I don't know every single person's name, that I can't spend time individually with people and get to know them. And that's really important to me as a leader. I love being in that space.
A couple things I want to hit on. One, because you mentioned Mass Mutual, don't hold it against me, but I started my career at Northwestern.
That's right. You
So,
had shared that with me. Yeah.
so cut from similar cloths, let's say, from where we got started out. Additionally, it's good to hear how integrated you are, particularly around the tax side of the business. I worked for a number of years with a company about 5 billion in assets out of Seattle,
Mm-hmm.
and they were part of the Schwab referral network. And by and large, anytime they lost a deal, it was because the prospect decided to work with a firm who could also do their taxes. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a huge value add, lack of a better way to put it, sort of one stop shop. So the client doesn't have to tell the same story to two different people, so to speak, or two different firms.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get into the crux of the conversation, though, Jennifer, as we are recording this January 9th of 2026, you have some exciting news to share. Why don't you share it?
Absolutely. So, as of this morning, we closed what I'm viewing as our fourth deal of last year. It just sort of closed at the beginning of this year. So, closing out a great M&A year with our last deal closing today. Wonderful firm in Red Hook, New Jersey, called Hogan and Knotts. Really excited about 300 million. Excited about adding the firm to our group for a number of reasons. Number one, they're very, very aligned with how we do business, and being an integrator, extremely important to us that we have cultural alignment in how we work with clients. So that's very exciting, and also an ability to begin expanding our footprint on the East Coast. So that's also a really nice add. And I think finishes out a very good 2025 M&A recruiting year for us. And so now we're on to this year, and we have big aspirations as well to continue to grow inorganically through mergers and acquisitions this year.
Awesome. So on that topic, and this is a perfect dovetail into something else that I want to chat through. So um, I've worked with a number of firms who grow organically, but one of the main drivers of growth is through M&A. And A.
Mhm.
And when you see 15 billion, 40 billion, 30 billion, your initial thought is, whoa, right? That's massive. That's impressive. I've had an opportunity, however, to look under the hood of these firms and be on the ground level, so to speak, with the different team members and advisors and spread all throughout the country. And what I found is with a number of them, I started calling them, not to them, but in my mind, sort of like Franken firms, where there were a bunch of different cultures inside the firm.
Mhm.
And it causes issues, right? And I know one of the things that you're passionate about, that you continuously work towards, is making sure to, I guess, scale culture while you're scaling growth.
Mhm.
So perhaps I can take your answer and send it to the few firms that I have in mind, but I don't think that culture is ever truly and fully solved because it's always evolving as you
Right.
grow. Um, but let's talk about culture, your thoughts on that. And culture is I think, a feeling, but there's probably also some tactical things that you can do to emote that feeling from folks.
Absolutely. So happy to talk more about culture. I think, just to start with the answer, when we bring firms in, we are an integrator. And I think about integration in two parts. One, there's the operational integration. And to me, that's getting everybody on the same technology. We take over back office compliance, we take over back office HR, we centralize investments, and founders and owners love that. That's what they're looking for. They're looking to have all of that centralized to free up more of their time to work with their clients and continue to grow their business. So that's to me, though, the operational integration is almost the easy part. It takes some time, but we get through it. The cultural integration is really where the heavy lifting happens, with really making sure that when we bring firms over, they're aligned with our culture and they're excited about educating their clients on the Mather Group culture and how they're joining our group. And so, even from the beginning of an acquisition, one of the first things we're doing is we're getting in front of clients with a client event, and we're making sure that clients understand who the Mather Group is. That when you work with us, you don't just get one advisor, you get a team. And here's your team. And here's what everybody does, and here's where all the resources are. And so, in an ideal world, from a cultural perspective, when one of the Mather Group clients is asked, who do you work with at the Mather Group? Of course, they should talk about their wealth advisor, but four or five other names should roll off their tongue because it should really be a team that they're thinking about when they're engaging with us. And so culture is really, really important. And so we do a few things. One of the things that I instituted right away when I became a leader is an advisory council. And the advisory council is made up of our top equity owners. We have about 90% of the firm that has equity in the Mather Group. And I bring in our top equity owners on a quarterly basis. And this is really an opportunity for us to not only make sure we're all aligned with what our goals are and what we're trying to accomplish, but also we have a lot of great talent. And we have, especially doing 4 acquisitions last year, I'm so excited to come to our first advisory council because we're going to have all these new fresh voices in the room and people to add best practices that we can not have fragmentations, but we can bring those best practices in and really incorporate them as part of our culture. So the advisory council has been a real anchor to creating that culture.
Yeah, and to get clarity on that, and I want to talk about the events that you do when a new team joins. But are you saying that like um, the different firms that have joined the Mather Group, a lot of them are higher equity owners, so they all have a voice in these quarterly sessions, and then can disseminate whatever the results of that meeting are through their local teams, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, cool. Um, Now talk to me about the client events. Are those virtual? Are those in person? Are you going to those as
Yeah.
well? Like is it purely social? Is it educational? A little bit of both? Like talk to me about the vibe.
Yeah, great. So one of the things with events that we have 13 locations throughout the country. It's we do events all around the country, but we want to make sure that we're really thinking about regionally what's going to appeal to clients in various parts of the country. And so we've done a variety of things. One thing that has resonated really well with clients, we did several of these last year, is we did a health and wealth event in person. We were able, depending on where we were, we did an educational component. For example, charitable giving. That's a very big hot topic with a lot of our clients. And we partnered that with bringing in a health expert to talk about longevity, to talk about, taking care of ourselves, answer questions. And that resonated really, really well with people. So that's an example of a event that we did numerous times last year that brought together education and a social component. We've also done just social events where we've done wine tastings. We've done in California and San Francisco in the Lafayette area. We did a wonderful barbecue for outdoor barbecue for the clients over the summer, which resonated exceptionally well. So we really try to think about what's going to appeal to clients in specific areas. And then we bring in our resources. But what stays consistent in all of that is I make every effort to be at all of those events. In addition, we make sure that our team members are there. So the team members are circulating and making sure that they're talking to the clients. And for in a lot of situations, because we do work across the country, there's a lot of situations where the client has been working with somebody, for instance, in tax, but never met them in person. Everything was being done
Mhm.
virtually and by Zoom. So it's a really nice way to make that personal connection with people.
That's cool. I think back to Northwestern and you with Mass Mutual. Obviously, they're much larger than what you and I both have right now. Um, but I couldn't imagine, the CEO of one of those companies showing up to, an event like that. So it's probably uh, pretty impactful that the clients see not just your face, but the other team members' faces as well. One just random idea as you were talking about one of the events around health and wellness, as well as essentially legacy planning with gifting. If you haven't yet come across a gentleman by the name of Blake Brewer with a company called Legacy Leathers, that may be a good event to consider since your clients are sort of in that mindset. So just planting the seed for you.
Great, great tip. I'll have to follow up with you on that information. Thank you.
Of course. Um, how do you handle, because one of the things that I've come across with those like Franken firms that I
Mhm.
mentioned is everyone has a voice. Um, Sometimes that voice shares ideas that are really great that should be institutionalized. And other times, maybe not so much. And some of
Mhm.
the folks that, share things that aren't adopted at the firm level can ultimately have a bit of a drag on the culture. How
Mhm.
do you handle all the ideas that you get from
Mhm.
your team members and
Mhm.
determine what to prioritize, make sure that they're still heard, even if you're not going to implement it in a timely manner based on other priorities? Like, how
Mhm.
do you manage that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think I would back up a little bit and say because we do integrate, because we're very conscientious of who we partner with, we do have really, really good alignment on the front end. And I also work really hard to be very transparent about what the goals of the firm are, where we are, how we're pacing. And so I think it becomes more of a making sure that people understand we do hear you. We may not agree with everything. We may not implement everything, but that doesn't mean that we're not listening and we haven't heard everything that you've shared. And so we really take that perspective. We also, from the advisory council, we do two things. We do a lot of front end work before every meeting to really share what the agenda is going to be and solicit advanced feedback. So we're very prepared for those meetings and the direction. And then we are very, very maniacal after the meeting of getting feedback to see what we did well, what we could do better, and providing documentation of exactly what we're going to take action on. So every idea may not be implemented, but many are, and people can see that. And I think that helps with the momentum moving forward.
Understood. So you said the word transparent, which brings up something else that we had talked about during our intro call. So a lot of times in this industry, success is defined by AUM numbers, revenue numbers, amount of team members, things along those lines, growth rate, even. But you have a different take on success in this industry. Walk us through how you define success for what you're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we also have a monthly town hall that I do with the firm every single month. And one of that entire town hall, the theme is always unreasonable hospitality.
I love that
And
book.
and the idea is if we are providing unreasonable hospitality to our clients, all the metrics are going to take care of themselves. And so, what we're always doing on that call is bringing back everything we're doing to that unreasonable hospitality concept. And we're highlighting examples of that. Every single town hall, pick somebody from the firm and we sort of go all across all positions of the firm and ask them to do a little fireside chat with me. So there's questions and answers going back and forth so we can have a real conversation. We're sharing examples of how we've gone above and beyond to help clients, in addition to other things that are going on in the firm. But what I think with you, when you start with that and you're leading with that unreasonable hospitality, there's no way you can't become first in class, right? I mean, because at the end of the day, this is all about helping clients achieve their goals that are aligned with their personal values. And if we are leading that, only good things can happen.
Yeah, I should have had like an affiliate link for that book. I've recommended that so many times. I've done
It's so good.
yeah, the client that I'm meeting with after this, I actually did a workshop with him and his team on unreasonable hospitality. And I love that you're not just saying, hey, go provide unreasonable hospitality, but you're sharing or you're getting your team members to share examples of what they did that they consider to be unreasonable,
Mm-hmm.
because it allows other people to, oh, I wouldn't have even thought of doing that. That's such a,
Mm-hmm.
good idea. And now you're
Mm-hmm.
cross-pollinating all the best ideas so that it
Right.
becomes more of the culture being felt as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to, well, it depends on who you work with, what sort of experience that you get. So you're able to aggregate
That's right.
all those ideas during
Right.
during those sessions.
And I think when you truly provide unreasonable hospitality, what shows in the numbers is the ultimate compliment from that, which is that people refer us to their friends and
Hmm.
family to help also. People deepen their wallet share with us. People stay with us. Our retention is high. And so, that's the byproduct of the unreasonable hospitality.
Well, another byproduct too. Um, So I don't know if it's on my LinkedIn anymore. I've updated it a few times, but when I first got into consulting, one of the lines in my bio said, one of the things I love about what I do is I get advisors to fall in love with their business again. And when you make someone else's day through the
Mhm.
unreasonable hospitality actions that you take, you feel amazing in the process,
Mhm.
right? It doesn't
Right.
feel like work. It doesn't feel like you're putting together plans or having to have reviews. Like you're just passing out smiles. And as a
Mhm.
result, you have a perpetual smile on your face as well.
Right.
And I think that in and of itself is a very good tactical approach to how to create a good culture going back to the beginning of the conversation, because it's tough to have a bad culture when everyone's in a good mood.
That's right. And I also think from a culture perspective, when I joined the Mather Group, about 60% of our employees had equity in the firm. And like I said, we're right above 90% now. So when people have, there's different ways to give people a voice and ownership. And a clear way to do that is equity in the firm. And so I think that creates a lot of alignment when you have so many people that have equity and every single person in the firm knows what their road to equity is. I think that's really, really propels things forward.
Mhm. So before we start to wrap up, one of the last topics I want to bring up. So early in the conversation, you mentioned how the average age in our industry is late 50s to early 60s at this point. But you did leave out a key metric to that, which is they're not just their age, but most of them are guys.
Mhm.
So as a woman in this industry, in a the highest role you can have in this industry at an RIA, running the shop, being CEO, how has that journey been progressing through a male dominated industry? And have you had sort of a respectful chip on your shoulder? Like, what's been your motivation to continue to progress when arguably, the cards are naturally stacked against you?
Yeah, that's a great question. We could probably do another hour and a half on that topic. I think there's a couple of things that I would say. Personally, um, I played Division I basketball, kind of have that athletic mindset. So I love the challenge. I love the competitiveness. Like my personality is naturally drawn to that. And that's a lot of what this business is. And I love all of those things. I think though, being in a very male dominated industry can be extremely exhausting for women. And you end up using a lot of energy to persevere through that. And that takes away from your actual performance. One of the really special things about the Mather Group, and another thing that I didn't really spell this out before in one of my decisions to join, is our private equity backer, Vistria, is a very, very open minded, progressive private equity firm. And that makes a really big difference to me as a woman leader. Having a backer, capital partner where my values are very aligned, and they're very aligned with having a more diverse and progressive group. And so that's been very important to have that for me. We at the Mather Group have a lot of women actually in our advisor force, much more than the industry average. We don't necessarily intentionally say we're going to hire women, but we do intentionally go out and make sure that we're getting the best people. And we make sure that when we're interviewing the best people, they see who we are from a diverse perspective. And I think when people see that there's a lot of more women, they feel more comfortable coming into a firm and feeling like there's going to be a little bit of a different environment there. I find it extremely frustrating and extremely sad that we haven't moved the needle more on having more women in this business. And I think there's just so much opportunity because this business is great for men and for women. We're giving advice to men and to women, and therefore we should have an equal amount giving that advice that's receiving it. It just only makes sense. It makes a better firm. It makes a better business case. So I think we still have a lot of opportunity around that. And I guess the last thing I would say, just to kind of sum it up, is I think as a woman in this business, if you can find a firm that already does have a good amount of women, you're going to feel really comfortable there, and you're not going to have to use your time and energy combating kind of that all male environment, and therefore you can actually be more effective in your role. And that's really how I felt at the Mather Group. I felt like I've been able to channel all my energy into this business, and I don't really think about being the only woman in the room in this environment, which is really special and something I haven't felt my entire career.
Well, you stole my last question. I was going to ask what advice do you have for women entering the industry, but you said it perfectly. Find a firm that looks like you, is aligned with your values. That way you can, because it's a real thing. They're better able to protect their energy.
That's right.
Because I'm sure, I don't know, but I'm sure it can be incredibly exhausting when you're always doing two things at once, essentially.
That's right. And that's why you're seeing even in my generation, Gen X, you're seeing a disproportionate amount of women retiring before men. The men are having more longevity in the career. And I truly believe because women are exhausted, for all of those things that we just
Mm,
said. So I really hope that that narrative changes with the next generations coming up.
awesome. Um, One of the questions, Jennifer, that I ask all of our guests is about a book that's had an impact on them.
Yeah,
And it's our way of helping distill a reading list for folks so they
sure.
aren't just listening to stuff, but they're doing the old school actual reading.
Yeah.
What book comes to mind?
Yeah. So the book that sits on my nightstand right now that has been there for the last few years, and I actually keep going back to it, is the Peter Attia Outlive book. And
I got that over there.
the
Yep.
yeah, the reason. I always bring that up is that I think in order to be successful in anything we do, we have to make sure that we're as healthy as possible. And I know, moving along and getting older, it becomes even more important that we take care of ourselves in order to be in high performance. And so I just find that book incredibly helpful. It is a hard read. It's dense. You almost have to read it numerous times, but it's something that I continue to go back to because I know if I am not healthy, I'm not showing up as my best self. And so it's extremely important to me.
Yeah, I've noticed. I came up. I'll spare you the details for this podcast, but I came up with something called the C3 list, and it came as a result of there were times in my career where I would feel great business wise, making good money, having good impact, but I was a little bit of a sloth health wise. Like I wasn't working out, I wasn't eating clean. Maybe I was, drinking on the weekends or whatever. And I just felt off. And then there were
Mhm.
times where I felt great health wise, but my business was a little bit off. And therefore I felt off. And there were times where both of those were working in sync, but I wasn't intentionally being of service to other people outside of what I was compensated to do, and I would feel off. And what I found is all those three things all intersected together,
Mhm.
progressing. Um, it's tough to have a bad day when you're moving forward in all three of those areas. So I developed
That's
a
right.
program to help with that, but I couldn't agree more. When you look good, you feel good,
Mhm.
you operate well also, and you're able to show up for the people that rely on you and the people that care for you.
Yeah, and it's interesting. When I talk to some of my peers in the business, it inevitably becomes the thing that we end up talking about in any conversation. Obviously there's the business and we're sharing some best practices and some inlooks, and it almost always gravitates to how are you doing with your travel?
Hmm.
How are you doing with your sleep? You have any tricks for this or that? Or, so everybody's really always trying to like figure all of that out. And it's just so important, especially as, we're, working across multiple states and we're on a lot of planes and, all of those factors. It's so incredibly important.
Hmm. Well, Jennifer, if I want to follow along with your journey, the Mather Group's journey,
Yeah.
uh, where do you want to send us?
Absolutely. So, two places I would send people. One is feel free to jump on our website. There's a really easy also contact us button on there, as well as I always love to hear from people via LinkedIn. Shoot me a message. Love to connect.
Awesome. Right before we hopped on this recording, I tossed you a connection request, so don't make me sit on that too long.
Okay, I absolutely. I will accept that today.
Awesome. Well, for everyone tuning in, as always, appreciate your time and attention. Jennifer, I know, especially on the day of a closed deal, which maybe is the quietest of days. The next day is busy, but either way, I
Okay.
appreciate your time
Yeah.
on a big important day for you guys. So thanks so much for joining.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Take care.